Hi, this is Heather Box from the Million Person Project. The Million Person Project is a global project about love, storytelling, and connecting changemakers. And I'm very happy to be here today with Reshma Saujani, who is the founder of Girls Who Code. So welcome, Reshma. And why don't you introduce yourself to our viewers?
Great. Thanks, Heather. I'm so excited to be here with you. I'm a big fan of yours. I'm the founder and CEO of Girls Who Code, which we say is a national movement that's seeking to close the gender gap in computer science education with teen girls. And we're going to be in all 50 states this year. We'll reach about 40,000 girls across the country who have raised their hand and said, teach me how to code. It's incredible.
Wow. I'm excited to be in this conversation with you about the power of personal storytelling and the power of stories. And so I'd love to just start off by understanding, what role does storytelling play in your leadership and in Girls Who Code?
Yeah, a huge role. So, I really feel like a lot of my role at Girls Who Code is to be the evangelist, right? To get out there and to build this movement, to be speaking to, girls, parents, educators, teachers, policymakers, and really telling them why it's important to teach girls to code. And so I feel like it always starts with like, how did I get into it? Reshma, I'm not a coder, right? So I don't come to closing the gender gap because of my own personal professional experience. And so really sharing what it means for a woman who's not in this space to start this organization and why I'm so committed to it. And it's a lot about storytelling, both my story and the girls' stories that are in our program.
So that the viewers know, you just gave a TED Talk this year that was sharing part of your story, and it's gone like absolutely viral in the matter of weeks. And so what I would love to hear is, what does it feel like to have your story and part of your story out in the public in that big of a way? What has shifted for you?
It feels really good. Like, I feel like I, in my life, have faced a lot of struggle, a lot of failure, a lot of rejection, a lot of ups and downs. And, I've been down in the dumps. And I think to be able to share that journey with women and people in general, and to say, I'm still standing, right? I still lost 2 elections, but then I started this organization. I got rejected from Yale Law School 3 times, but then I got in. I get rejected and I fail like every day. And, I get up to fight another day, and it's really taught me resiliency. I think to like share your vulnerability in that way with so many people was why I feel like people watched it. Right? Because to them, it felt like it feels authentic, and it feels like they've been through that. They can relate. You know what I mean? They know what it's like to feel humiliated or crushed, and they know what it's like to, your whole life, like be living a life to be perfect rather than living a life to be brave. So I think that's, in many ways, it's like my storytelling. You always say, Heather, you were such a big part of the speech, but like, it's almost in that first 2 minutes, like, what's the connection that you're making with somebody? And I think that is through telling a story that's deeply personal to you.
And when you were getting ready to tell that story, how were you navigating your message? So many of our viewers are thinking about like, okay, like I have this story to tell about who I am, but how does it connect to my message and my work? And how do I decide what parts to tell? That's something so common that I hear.
So I think there's 2 things. I think one, you just got to tell it, right? So I've told a version of that story like hundreds of times, right? And so I think getting in a comfortable space of sharing that story over and over and over again, I think is really important, because you get comfortable with it, like, and then you see how or if it connects with other people. Like we went through like dozens of drafts of that speech before it felt right. And I think when I got on stage, it's like, I don't know, I just feel like you can't fake it. Like, people can smell like bullshit. And so you have to really feel the words that you're saying. And I think that when you do, it's just like, you like, come to light for people.
I saw that happening when I was watching your TED Talk. Like, I could see that you were in touch with what you're saying, which is actually really hard to do. It's once you have something memorized and you've gone and worked with it, it is hard to be present to the words that you're saying and to experience the speech as you're giving it.
So, and I was like, I was first sick with nervousness, right? Like, I was like literally sick with nervousness for weeks. and, imagined every horror story. And I was sick of the speech because I had practiced it over and over and over and over again that, but there's something that happened when, I think when you get on stage, especially when you have a message that you desperately want to share with people, right? That you just feel so deeply about. And I think it's just like that energy and that connection just takes over you. I also like, one of our common friend, Ra's friend, Michelle, taught me, a good tactic too, that, before you're going into a room speaking, like I actually like touch the furniture and touch the chairs and like literally like embed my energy all around the room. So I feel incredibly present in that moment. It makes a big difference.
Yeah, that's such a good tip for getting present to the actual space that you're in.
Yeah.
Just like physically touch it. This is something that I wonder about people who like go viral is what comes back to you? Like, are people emailing you? Are people calling you and saying, oh, I saw this, can you do this? Or what has been the impact in your personal life around this talk?
Well, I was like so surprised by how much it was shared. And people like in Australia, in Iceland, right? And like all across the world. And the impact that it had on people's everyday decisions. So I had a lot of, tweets or Facebook messages or, text messages from people who were like, I just listened to your talk and it was like, I needed it. It was like at that moment that I was trying to make a decision about this job and I'm just quitting. Like, I'm going to be brave. Like I'm going to go and what bravery meant for different people in their lives at that moment. It was really powerful too. I got a couple of people forwarding me how teachers had actually shared the talk to all of their students, like middle school students. And like, Sonoma, right? Like, and it wasn't even like my middle school. It was, like a teacher who watched it and was like, oh my God, I want to share this with my students. And then so many dads, which was also really powerful, right? How much the speech resonated for men, either who had wives or partners who they saw really struggling with perfection, or their daughters who they've been trying to get to be more brave. And so I think that I just don't think I could have expected the response in terms of the impact it made on so many different people's lives in so many different ways.
What is your advice for someone? It's like, obviously that's what we dream of. We're like, okay, we're going to give our talk and it's going to be really well received. And then all of these great connections are going to happen in my life and my work and all of this. And there's an element, sometimes in my work where I invite people to tell the story for them first, to let go of the impact and to just get true with yourself and to share that. And then that is actually what people connect to, is that it's deeply true to you and who you are. But, navigating the audience and what they're going to think of you and all this stuff is such a big negotiation. And you've been speaking, you're a pro, you've been speaking, every day for years. So what is your advice to someone who is still kind of at the point where they're really thinking, oh, will the audience receive this? How do I navigate that?
So I feel like you got to let it go. So like, for example, speaking at the TED stage is the biggest mind F, right? It's like the Super Bowl speech is like, it doesn't get more intimidating. And I think, a friend of mine always said to me, there's a reason why some of the best TED Talks were actually TEDx Talks, right? Because you had taken all of that stress, and anticipation out of it. And the speaker just got on the stage and just told their truth. And so I was really, when I got on stage, trying to do that. And so I would tell anybody is just, as much as you can, make that feeling feel like you're in your living room and you're not letting yourself get intimidated by the surroundings. So how many people are in the room, or who's in the room, or am I prepared? Am I not prepared? Like just getting and like just being your authentic self and just talking your truth, I think is really important. And part of that is also, again, I think trying to take the expectation game out of it. And so I didn't do my talk with like, I want this to happen and that to happen. I just had something I wanted to just share with the world. And I think the third thing is I didn't take shortcuts. So because I speak all the time and because I was so scared and nervous, like my default could have been, as we talked about this, like just do my stump speech, right? And just do a shortened version of my stump speech. But I spent weeks and weeks and weeks really doing the work and doing the drafts and cutting and thinking and making myself miserable, quite frankly, for months to find that perfect, or that, I shouldn't say that perfect, ironically, but like that, 11 minutes that meant something to me. And so I think that that's the key. The other thing was like, I actually had 14 minutes and I only used 11. So I think like, don't get bogged down too by like the details, right? So if you have something to say and you need 10 minutes to say it, then you just use those 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's really, really, really good for, for me to hear, and I'm sure for so many of our viewers to hear about not playing it safe when the big opportunity comes. Like the big opportunity is inviting you to try something new, And so I think that is such a hesitation that I go through sometimes. And I'm like, like maybe I just should stick to what I know. And so I think seeing the way that you invested in exploring new messages and feeling out what was right for you in the moment, you were open to new parts of your story. And that openness is hard to get after years of, really having one message or one story that you tell.
And being an expert, right? Like I was an expert in girls and technology, enough that I could talk about it. I knew all the facts. I'm not an expert in perfection, right? It's something that I've seen, that I've been experiencing, but I couldn't sit here and give you all of the data on why that's, why that is. I don't have all those answers yet. But not having all the answers, not give me not give the idea that I think that needed to be out there in the world. Like that didn't stop me. And I think that that's important, right?
Yeah. Where do you see your leadership going? What is your vision for yourself and your impact?
So I really just want to close the gender gap in technology. I want to create an army of, movement of women who are change agents and who have technology, who can use technology to solve problems. And that's the most important thing. Like, I feel like girls, like they want to change the world. They see maybe their mother's obese and they want to build an app to help her, or they went to Nigeria and they saw that women don't have access to water and they want to do something about it, or their brother's dyslexic and they want to help him, learn how to read. And I want to help give girls those tools so they can solve those problems. Like that's the most important thing to me. I think the second thing is I'm really fed up, Heather, with the lack of women in leadership positions. Like, I'm just tired of it. I feel like I'm having the same conversations in college as I was in law school, as I was in my 20s, as I now am in my 40s. And like, I really want to think about how do we shift our thinking and our behavior and our actions to like have real change. And that's why, this talk was exciting for me, because I felt like it was just another lever, right? Another almost consciousness raising thing that I saw in my life that I think so many women see, of like, if I can get myself to be more comfortable with imperfection, what are the choices that I would make? What are the things that I would create? What are the steps that I would take? What are the mountains I would climb if I could do that? And again, I think pushing women out of their comfort zone to take those big leaps in their life is like, that excites me.
Yeah. I mean, when you said that, I got goosebumps about like you've been having the same conversations in college throughout your 20s and 30s and now in your 40s. I hear the urgency in your voice of like, let's do this now, and I think that's really compelling, because life is not that long. Like, it's not that many years. If 30 years you've been having the same conversation, like, it's time to shift. The urgency in which you speak really inspires me, let me just speak from my own experience, to get on it like that. So, and I know that's what you're doing with so many of the girls that you work with and all the viewers and fans that you have across the world. I'd love to hear, in closing, who one of your teachers is, who is someone that's been really influential to you in your life, or someone or someone that you're inspired by, you read.
And I love Hillary Clinton. I think that she is incredibly resilient, incredibly brave. Talk about getting up and fighting every single day and getting beat up just to live, just to do it again, because she believes in the plight of women and girls. She believes in equity for people. And so I have a lot of admiration for her. I also just have a lot of admiration for my girls in my program. Like, a lot of our girls come from tough circumstances, like 2 trains and a bus to get to class in the morning, leaving homeless shelters to learn how to computer program, first generation immigrants whose parents, don't speak English and, are now trying to navigate and learning another language. And so it's powerful to see how much young women will go through for a chance at the American dream, and for a shot at a different future for themselves and their families. And like, that's just inspiring. Like, they don't give up. And I think it's like, to me, anybody who like gets up and just doesn't give up and is so principled in what they believe in and what they want to do is just, I admire that.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. And
thanks, Heather.
And viewers, I hope that you guys, if you're not one of the 1 million plus who have listened to Reshma's TED Talk, I hope that you will take a moment after this interview to go over and listen to her talk. I'll put the link. How can our viewers stay in contact with you? How can they find out what you're doing?
So follow me at Reshma Saujani on Twitter. Instagram me, Facebook me, tweet at me, like DM me, like I'm here. And I hope everybody gets involved in Girls Who Code. I hope everybody learns how to be brave.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Reshma.
Thank you. Bye, Heather.
Bye. See you later.